What happens when a legendary icon sits down for what's supposed to be a light and friendly interview, only for it to turn into the most uncomfortable conversation of his career? What happens when a beloved talk show host asks one question too many, crossing lines that should have been left untouched? This is the story of the day Lionel Richie walked off the Clarkson show. And believe me, what led to that moment is something no one could have predicted. The tension, the awkward silences, the sharp words, they all built up to a moment that shocked everyone in the studio. You're about to hear exactly what was said, word for word, and why this interview became one of the most talked about moments in daytime TV. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and comment below what you think about this situation. Now, let's get started. The afternoon began like any other taping day at the Clarkson show. The audience was buzzing with excitement. The energy was high, and everyone expected a fun, lighthearted chat with Lionel Richie. He was there to talk about his new tour, his long career, and maybe share a few funny memories from his days with the Commodores. It was supposed to be easygoing, the kind of interview he had done countless times before. But from the moment Kelly walked out on stage, something felt different. There was a certain edge to her smile, a spark in her eyes that hinted this wouldn't be just another friendly talk. Kelly started with her usual warmth, greeting Lionel with a hug and complimenting his sharp outfit. The audience cheered, Lionel waved, and for a moment everything seemed completely normal. They sat across from each other and began chatting. Kelly asked about his tour, his favorite cities, and how it felt to still sell out massive arenas after all these years. Lionel answered smoothly, his famous calm voice filling the studio as he talked about the joy of performing and how grateful he was for his fans who had been with him through every stage of his life. But then Kelly changed her tone. It shifted from cheerful to serious, almost probing. She leaned forward and said, "You know, Lionel, I've always been curious about something. You've had this incredible career with all these timeless hits, but there's always been talk about your authenticity, about whether the image you show to the public is really who you are, or if it's been carefully built for the cameras." The room fell silent. The audience immediately sensed a shift. This wasn't going to be a soft, feel-good chat. Lionel's smile faded just a bit before he quickly recovered, letting out a quiet laugh. "Well, Kelly," he said, "I think anyone who's been in this business for as long as I have understands that there's the public side and the private side. But I've always tried to be true to myself." Kelly nodded, but there was something in her expression, a look that showed she wasn't quite satisfied. "That's interesting," she said, "because I've done some reading, talked to people, and there seems to be a pattern of you avoiding certain topics. Things that don't quite match the romantic image you've built over your career." Lionel's jaw tightened slightly. "I'm not sure what you mean," he said calmly, though his voice carried a trace of tension. "I've always been open about my journey and struggles." "Have you, though?" Kelly pressed. "Because when I look at your interviews, you talk about love and music in general terms, but you never get personal. You never really let people see behind the curtain. And I think your fans deserve to know the real Lionel Richie, not just the performer who sings about endless love." Now the room was completely still. A few people in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. Lionel's publicist, seated off to the side, looked visibly worried. But this was being recorded live, and Kelly was clearly ignoring the pre-approved question list. "Kelly, I respect your curiosity," Lionel said, his tone firmer now. "But there's a difference between being private and being fake. I've shared what I felt was right to share. The rest is personal, and that doesn't make me dishonest." Kelly gave a tight smile. "I'm not calling you fake, Lionel," she said. "I'm just saying, for someone who's written so much about love, you seem very hesitant to talk about your own experiences. You've been married twice. You've had public relationships. But when people ask about them, you change the subject. Why is that?" "Because my personal life is my personal life," Lionel replied sharply. "I came here to talk about music, not to be interrogated about my marriages." "But don't you think your fans have a right to know who you truly are?" Kelly countered. They've supported you for decades. They've bought your records, attended your shows, and sung your songs at their weddings. Don't they deserve honesty? Lionel stared at her, his eyes narrowing slightly. What exactly are you asking me, Kelly? Kelly took a breath. I'm asking about the difference between the man who sings endless love and the man who, according to people close to you, has been emotionally distant in his own relationships. I'm asking about that disconnect. The audience gasped. Lionel's face changed from surprise to anger in seconds. Excuse me? He said in a low, controlled voice. You're really going to sit here and accuse me of mistreating women based on gossip? I'm not accusing you, Kelly said, though her tone suggested otherwise. I'm just asking you to address what's been said about you over the years. Lionel stood abruptly, almost knocking off his mic. This is unbelievable, he said. I agreed to come here to promote my tour, not to be ambushed like this. Kelly stayed seated, her expression calm, but her eyes intense. It's called asking tough questions, Lionel. It's called accountability, even for legends. Accountable for what? Lionel shot back. For having boundaries? For not turning my personal life into entertainment? You built your brand on love and connection, Kelly said. You can't hide behind privacy when your whole career is based on those emotions. The difference, Lionel replied, is that I'm an artist. My songs are about universal feelings. They don't have to be autobiographical. But you let people believe they are, Kelly said firmly. You let the world think you're this perfect romantic, but your real life tells a different story. Isn't that misleading? No, it's not, Lionel said. That's called art. Do you expect every actor who plays a hero to be one in real life? Every writer who writes about heartbreak to actually live it? That's not how art works. That's not the same, Kelly replied. Your whole image is built on authenticity. You're not playing a character, and you think you have the right to question who I really am, Lionel shot back. You don't know me personally, Kelly. You haven't earned that right. Kelly tilted her head slightly. So you admit there's a difference between your public persona and the real you? Of course there is, Lionel said, his frustration showing. Everyone has a private side, but that doesn't make me fake. I'm not saying you're fake, Kelly said, though her tone hinted otherwise. I'm saying you pick and choose your truths. And in today's world, people want more openness. Lionel looked around at the audience, then back at Kelly. You know what the real issue is? He said. It's that people now think privacy equals guilt. If you don't share everything, you must be hiding something. That's what's wrong. Or maybe, Kelly said, the problem is when people benefit from their public image, but don't want to be accountable when that image cracks. Accountable to who? Lionel asked, his voice rising. To you? To random strangers online? I don't owe anyone explanations about my marriages or emotions. I owe my fans good music and respect. That's it. Kelly shook her head. That's convenient for someone who's built a career on being emotionally open. It's not convenient, Lionel replied. It's called boundaries, and the fact that you can't see that says more about you than me. The crowd reacted, a soft wave of murmurs. Kelly's expression hardened. Don't make this about me, she said sharply. Maybe I should, Lionel said quietly. You sit here pretending to be the voice of honesty, but what you're really doing is chasing drama for ratings. You want a viral moment, and you're using me for it. Kelly's cheeks flushed. That's not true, she said. This is about real conversation, not pre-approved talking points. Conversation? Lionel laughed bitterly. This is an ambush. And I'm done. He began to unclip his microphone. Kelly took a step forward. So you're just going to walk out? You're not even going to defend yourself? I don't need to, Lionel said. I know who I am. The people close to me know who I am. I don't need to prove anything to you. But you do care, Kelly said quickly. If you didn't, you wouldn't be so angry. I hit a nerve, didn't I? Lionel stopped and looked at her. His voice softened slightly. You want to know what nerve you hit? The one that comes from giving 40 years of my life to music, trying to make people happy, only to have someone reduce all of that to gossip about my private life. But your personal life shapes your art, Kelly insisted. People have a right to know the truth. Why? Lionel asked. Why isn't my music enough? Why does my pain have to be public? Kelly hesitated. Because that's the deal you made as a public figure. You wanted to be beloved, and that comes with scrutiny. Scrutiny, yes, Lionel said. Character assassination? No. Kel, if question deserves an answer, not because I'm hiding something, but because some things simply belong to me.